right one this time. Anyway.
I did have, I had this issue of trying to listen to recordings. I haven't really tried that many times. It seems like I did it before. Did you used to post them to YouTube?
Oh yeah, yeah. Right now, like all the time, right after the talk is there, usually as soon as Kathleen has sent it out, I'll download it and post it to YouTube.
Okay. And what's the address on YouTube again?
Ooh.
Or just what do
Well,
I?
you can go, because I also posted on emotionallysober.net,
Okay,
which
yeah.
is like a collection. That's the easiest way, because the YouTube address, it's crazy, like XYW.
Yeah.
And so it's easiest to go to emotionallysober.net, and usually the full talk will be posted up there from YouTube, but you can click on it and watch it there.
Yeah, I think I did that before, but I tried to link up by the link that comes on Kathleen's emails. It says Zoom something or other.
Yes.
And I tried to go into that, and so I had to sign into Zoom, but then I got this thing that said you have not activated something or other. I didn't.
Right. That was from last week, because I did the same thing. The second link was the one that you click on and can download. The first one was some kind of goofy, I'm not sure. It did exactly the same thing for me. Yes, you need to sign into Zoom. And then it said, well, no, you're not a Zoom account holder or whatever. And I knew that, but there was the second link. But like I said, if you ever want to, emotionallysober.net, usually the next day, as soon as I get it from Kathleen, I download it, I upload it to YouTube, and then I put it on the emotionallysober.net that it has the full talk there.
Right.
Sometimes I splice them up with like little, but I haven't really been doing that much lately. So it'll be the full talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed you put them on Facebook sometimes, and
yes. Yeah.
Now the whole world knows that we're watching you on Facebook. They're sharing all this information with everybody.
And
the message is really getting out there. That's a good thing.
that is
Definitely.
And the sounds too.
Yeah. Yeah, usually the headphones kind of block out some of the sound. I don't know. I should get some myself.
I guess we don't expect to see. Who was that guy that was here last week?
Oh, Stephen?
I guess.
Yeah.
He doesn't come very often, I guess.
No, he doesn't. I don't know. He has been here before, but he doesn't come regularly.
Is he directly in our lineage too?
Yeah, he seems to be a very big devotee of Nisargadatta.
Oh.
But I think he took Nam Mantra when Maharaj was here in the USA. I think. I'm not sure exactly, but I believe that's how Steve came to the Ramakant Maharaj USA.
Oh, okay.
I believe so. I'm not 100% on that. So.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't there for all the time that he was at Tanya and Streams. I was not feeling well. I didn't go. And then I only saw him at his son, Amit. Is that his name?
Amit. Yeah. Amit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was there for all of them, but I wouldn't recognize somebody.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I just remember because everybody who gets on this Ramakant Maharaj USA list had to have been from there, or there have been some people who've been picked up through Facebook who've said, hey, I'd really like to join these talks or whatever. And other than that, I don't think anybody is in that circle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've added a few people, John, that you've sent to me some email addresses. So I haven't seen any of them actually come to the talk. But
Yeah, no, neither have I. But I mean, they asked, "Oh, can we?" Yeah, sure. Here's the link, whatever, and we'll put you on the list.
and I don't send the recordings unless people actually,
Oh
come.
yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless somebody asks for the recording or unless they're actually here. Yeah, that's just to spam the entire, what, 60, especially now that Maharaj is coming to the US, that Ramakant Maharaj USA email will start to be active again. So we don't want to like put too much stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it could be quite a lot more people coming to that. We were just thinking, Trish and I were thinking about, well, maybe we need a bigger space, or because how much room is there in Amit's house? If he doesn't, I mean, that's an issue. We'll
Yeah,
have to deal with.
I don't know. I think I told you before, all I did on WhatsApp would say, Maharaj, if you need my assistance, I'm there in any way, but I won't do anything or make any plans or any arrangements until I've heard from you. Now, I may check in with his son just to see and bring his son in the very beginning this time. So it's not like it was last time, just to make sure that everything is exactly the way Maharaj wants it.
Yeah. 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 We'll have to see how that comes out, because sometimes it's hard to find larger spaces, because then if you find a large space, then you gotta, pay for the rental, and,
Well,
it gets
remember, Sadhguru is all of this. It is no concern. It'll happen in the moment spontaneously.
yeah,
There's really, I mean, I saw last time how it came together so amazingly that Sadhguru was just moving everything around exactly as it needed to be. Everything was precise and perfect without really any kind of, mental kind of let's make this happen type thing. It was just, it was really cool to watch, actually.
yeah. Well, I think
It was a friend of ours in Abu Dhabi that first told Tanya in Stream that he was coming.
Cool.
things ping pong around the world now.
Indeed.
So John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I don't really want English lyrics to those bhajans, just the Marathi language chants. If you come across anybody that could have access to them, because they sing them there at the ashram, so they have to have copies of them.
Right. I mean, on our website, we have the latest. I don't know for that specific Mixler bhajan, but you can look on both Ramakant Maharaj USA and also ramakantmaharaj.net, the bhajan booklet. Like we have it on ramakantmaharaj.us, the bhajan booklet, and then you can just kind of see which song it was. Like I said, for me, I listen to the bhajans, but I pay no attention other than, okay, in the morning I'm listening Kakadarate, then morning bhajans is at lunch, and then evening bhajans is for the commute home. Other than that, I really just, I couldn't tell you like what songs are composed in which ways.
I just wondered if you had access to someone who did know, because I do have the booklet and I got them all printed out of the 2017 Nashik budget.
Right.
Those don't contain. There's about 8 songs that aren't in there on the Mixler set of them, and they're really beautiful. And so
I truly don't know and don't have anybody. I would have sent you to Gopal, though Gopal already said no, he has no idea. So
yeah, okay, good. I sent you an email saying, do you know anyone in India that would know. But,
I don't.
okay, good. All right,
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Well, you mentioned bhajans. Do you do mantra while you're listening to bhajans or no?
I mean, mantra's running continuously, so there's not like the specific thought of doing mantra unless there's something that kind of breaks that on yourself type feeling.
Mm.
So bhajans are literally from my own self in the morning. I listen to the Kakadarate, and I'm reading on Kindle different various, like I've found that it's very helpful. I have like 10 different books, and I go from book to book to book rather than reading one whole book. It's like a few paragraphs from this book and then that book and then this book, and it allows the hammering without the mental kind of coming into it. But it's just on the train enjoying, you know, just like entertainment, but remaining with your selfless self, and just it's just something that's occurring. And it's beautiful actually, because in the morning, in the evening, I'm just reading, and then boom, I'm at my job. Okay, boom, I'm back home, and it's
So you're reading the written mantras while you're listening to the mantras? Or
no. The mantra is playing in the headphones,
uh-huh.
and I am reading from my phone the Kindle of like Ultimate Medicine. I am that. I mean, different various Kindle books that I have open, and I'm just kind of perusing through while I'm going to DC, and when I'm coming from DC back to home.
Okay, so the bhajans are running like a background also while you...
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, now all the time, I think I mentioned this before, when I'm in the car, I'm no longer listening to anything except bhajans, like, and that's really it. But that's just because I don't know why. I really don't think it's like a thought about process. I have the bhajans in there, and I get in, and a lot of times too now it's just nothing, like just driving with silence, because there's no, it's just you know, when you remain with your selfless self, all these activities are appearing inside yourself, and you know that this body is moving about, and that it really has nothing to do with you. And the enjoyment is, instead of trying to seek pleasure through all kinds of outside things, the bhajans allow the pleasure to continue inside yourself, to continue that kind of marinating inside your selfless self. And as you're driving or moving around with the headphones on, or like I bike to work from the Union Station, it just is that constant, just refreshing, you know, constantly impressing, and remaining with your selfless self. There's no outside distractions of any kind. There's no, you know, there's no thoughts going, because it's just this atmosphere, this constant atmosphere, just like being at the ashram when they had that constant spiritual atmosphere. It's just become the selfless self desiring to just marinate in itself all the time. You know, if you could say there's only really truly one desire, and that is to remain with this selfless self. There's just no other, there's no other anything.
Mm.
And listening to Maharaj too on the, I love that he, you know, Gopal does the WhatsApp, and I get to listen to that every day. So I sit there and just even listening to Master, it's not so much the words anymore, it's just the vibration, just the, I don't know, it's like the selfless self is craving itself and doesn't want anything else, doesn't seem to want anything else. Just, okay, listen to Maharaj, and you could say it's like an obsession almost with your own selfless self, and all other things are just brushed away.
Mm.
But spontaneously, because you're always remaining with your selfless self. And the discrimination happens very, very, like, because I remain with the selfless self. You know, outside things start to occur and try to draw attention, but there's no attention drawn. It's just moving through, because, you know, like, even if somebody's cutting you off or doing something like this or whatever, it's a scene that's coming and going very, very quickly. It's only if I take the touch and say, oh my God, this thing just happened. Nothing's happening. You know, your formless sense of self, you remain with that. You are the knower of the formless sense of presence. All of this appeared on that spontaneous presence. So nothing is of any attraction. Nothing is of any use. Nothing is like scenes coming and going. Why am I going to allow a stirring of an I am somebody else with a mind and thinking just because some small thing has appeared? This thing that's appeared will disappear, and nothing's actually happening to you, the selfless self. So you just remain with yourself. And in the event that anything in the beginning, if things are going, mantra, just mantra, mantra, mantra. You'll see there's no need for you to churn the wheels of I am somebody else and get involved in anything. It's just not needed. You just remain with your selfless self, and all these activities are occurring inside yourself, and they come and they go, and good things are happening, bad things are happening, but you're not taking the touch of any of it. You're just moving through. You're like a fish just kind of swimming in the water, swimming back and forth, and something happens. Okay, swimming, and it's just. But even that's not a good example, because you're the motionless that all of this motion is occurring inside of. You're seeing through this, but nothing's happening to you. Nothing can happen to you. This body has nothing to do with you. Just like if we're dreaming and this body was in a dream, it's, you know, take care of it. That's fine. That's good. But it has nothing to do with you. Do your job, do your duties, but don't take the touch of I am somebody else in this world moving about. And the more the mantra is kind of cleaning the pipe cleaner, so to speak, it's hollowing out this idea and belief that you're holding that I am in this body and I am somebody. Because once the thoughts kind of, that the mind doesn't say anything, because there's nothing to say about nothing. So it's very quiet, and there's no sense of even being a body. There's no reference point anymore. And yet everything happens. It happens very nicely. Just always remember that any knowledge that you had using the body form is absolutely false. And truly, like Maharaj says, it's the roadmap to your own self. All these different books that are being read and all these different things are only to lead you to your own self. And you've done that. Maharaj has put his hand on your head and said, okay, bye-bye. This hand that's on this head is not you. And this body, the head that this hand is on, is not you. You are the holder of all of this, and all of this is appearing on your spontaneous presence. So disregard anything that has to do with body or body knowledge, or, you know, trying to get more involved in this or more involved in that, or you want a deeper understanding of this. Once you know yourself in a real sense, the beauty is that when this body falls, whether you know yourself after this body falls or not won't matter, because you know yourself. You see, it's you know your spontaneous presence, and you feel that sense of presence using body form. So that formlessness is yourself. And whether there's a knowing of yourself or not, once you know yourself in a real sense, then there is no need. There's no need to say what happens when the body falls or whatever. But I'm not the body anyway, so I don't know what happens, but I know myself in a real sense. This thing that I am cannot be cut, cannot be divided, cannot be sectioned, nothing can happen. And then you know nothing is happening, because it's all occurring on your spontaneous presence, and it's absolutely illusion.
I guess we don't really know what's happening anyway. Otherwise, we wouldn't need science. We wouldn't need to try to find proofs and everything all the time anyway.
But there's only proof because doubt. The only time you need a proof is because of doubt. And once you know yourself in a real sense, and you can discriminate that from all other things, doubt can't arise. What happens after leaving the body? I don't know, but I know myself in a real sense, and I'm not this body at all. I was not body, I'm not going to remain the body, just like Maharaj says. So whether there's a knowingness of this formlessness without using a body, if there's awareness of awareness or whatever, it doesn't concern me, because that knowingness is, there's a formless sense of presence, that I am this knower of formless knowledge. I know this. So when this body goes and I'm no longer using the body as an instrument to know myself, but I've known myself. I know myself in a real sense. Whether this body is here or not doesn't matter. Whether I'm the knower of the sense of presence after there is no body doesn't matter, because I had nothing to do with this body or this form world. I know this. The spontaneous conviction is, I am not body, I was not body, I'm not going to remain the body. All of this has appeared on my spontaneous presence is absolutely illusion. When the body falls, if I don't know myself and I just go into a no-knowing state, I know that something was prior to this. I know that formless sense of presence can't die. The presence can't die. It can't be divided. It can't be cut. It can't be burned. It's there. It's always there, because it attached to the body and it will detach from the body. But it's everywhere. So there's nothing. There's no. Once you know yourself in a real sense, all debate will end. Mind, ego, intellect end. Nothing, because you're not thinking about this, oh, what if, or because all of this thinking is just to try to be like, I'm terrified that I might die. Maharaj has said I'm not going to die, but I don't yet really understand how that is. Well, you're not supposed to understand how that is. You're supposed to know yourself in a real sense and see that it's the ultimate truth.
So what we think is not knowing in the real sense.
Knowing yourself in a real sense can be done through mantra when you're not concentrating on other things other than yourself. Mantra allows to clear the field. As Maharaj says, it's the antivirus software, and when it's installed, it erases the virus, which is the body knowledge which you've acquired, believing yourself to be a body, which you are not. Everything, all the spiritual knowledge, all the spiritual books, all the teachings, all the everything, only were because you had a body in a world. but this is not true. So all of these things will be absolutely just completely useless, other than to get you to the point where you spend time with you, where you know yourself in a real sense, and you're no longer convinced that I'm a body in a world. Instead, all of this world is appearing on my spontaneous presence, and my presence is in every being. We talked about before, if the presence withdraws from the body, even for a moment, it's a dead body. So whenever you're talking with anyone, if that presence were to go away from them and presence goes away from you, it's two dead bodies. That presence, which is everywhere, then comes back to the body, takes the touch of the body, and a conversation can occur looking like it's two separate individuals, but in reality, with only the presence, with the conditioning belief that I'm John and the conditioning belief that you're you, and we go back and forth in a conversation, but it's just the presence that's animating the whole thing. And the presence was everywhere, so it didn't go anywhere. It just clicked with the body. And when it unclicks with the body, it's still there, it's still everywhere. And then the debate comes of, well, after I leave the body, will I know myself? Is there anything to know? But truly, once you know yourself in a real sense, this won't matter, because you're not the body. So whether the body comes or goes, you do not, you remain. When you know yourself in a real sense, this whole world loses its bite. There's nothing that can attract you. As I mentioned, remaining with your selfless self is a joy, like a real joy, because there's no disturbance of any kind.
But there's still room for the old types of joys too, right? I suppose.
If they're coming in the moment and they come in the scene, sure, but there's not a you in the scene. The scenes are passing before you, and you're 100% into that scene in that moment, whatever it may be. Like Maharaj says, do your job, do your duties, do this, do that. But see, all of this is not. None of it. Just like the dreamer laying down dreaming, projecting the dream world, none of the occurrences inside of that dream are actually occurring. They're all in the dreamer's dream. And it's the same way here, because you know yourself in a real sense as this formless presence, then everything that appears on presence is absolutely occurring inside the dream, because it can't be you. It's appearing on spontaneous presence as illusion, just like in a dream. So just like in a dream, you can enjoy your dream and do your things and all that kind of stuff, but you're not taking the touch of, this is my life and I'm living this thing. It's not like that. And you could still have ambition of something, say, oh, yes, it's not like you're just going to be a lump on a log, because currently all of this is the reality. It's just the belief that it's not the reality, and that the unreal is real, and that the reality is maybe, I don't know, it might be there. But that's why Maharaj says, you are unborn. All of the talk, no matter how powerful the talks may be, no matter how much presence we may feel or whatever, is all for the unborn child, to convince the unborn child that it is unborn.
From the perspective of the way I think, I could say what you're talking about sounds like there would be a sense of detachment involved, but that sense of detachment would only be from the perspective of somebody else that think, that isn't really there.
Yeah, you would have to have a body in order to attach from things, and you would have to consider yourself a thing. In reality, these things just fall away because you just know. You're with your selfless self. Some kind of thing is happening out there, remain with your selfless self. You see the scenes come and go very quickly. Mind will eventually stop presenting ideas in form because you're just ignoring it. Like, how can anything that's the beautiful thing, is the mind, we've talked about this before, the mind can only present ideas and thoughts to you, the selfless self, in form because that's all it knows. It does not know prior to form because it came along with form, with the mind, ego, intellect, and the mind is subject to thinking about this body and presenting ideas as if you were a body form. So when you see through this, thoughts won't matter at all either, because no thought that the mind can present can be anything about your reality, about the reality, about, you know, again, invisible, anonymous, unidentified, spontaneous identity that you are. Invisible because you can't see it, you feel it through the body form. This body is an instrument where you can know yourself in a real sense. But that's all it is. It's an instrument. And so then therefore, you know, like Maharaj cuts all of the, you know, what about this in dust bodh and what about that? And do I meditate on the nose? And should I do candles? Or how, you know, what about past life and all this? Because all of that is in the circle of body knowledge, and Maharaj just cuts it. He speaks to you, the selfless self that never were a body. You, the selfless self that is the formlessness that all of this world is appearing on. And everything that you can relate to, any books or any teachings or any questions you may have, you must do it through body with the things you have acquired or learned with a body. But you're not body. You were not body, and you're not going to remain body. So that kills every single question you could ever possibly have. Just try for a moment to form a question without using the thought that you are a body. That means all the bookish knowledge, you can't ask questions about that because you definitely had to have a body with eyes to read a book. So you can't ask about that. All of that is illusion. It's automatically discarded. If I try to ask any question about anything, I have to take the position that I am a singular individual in a body that has had this experience and needs this doubt cleared. But the key is you never were any of that. So ask a question without any touch of body or body knowledge. And you cannot. So then you remain with your selfless self and no need for anything more. Just continue remaining, like Nisargadatta Maharaj says, remain with the I am, and all the secrets will be revealed. And the secrets are that you're the knower of this I am. You're the knower of this sense of presence. And therefore, all this form world and all this body knowledge doesn't apply to you at all.
So it all starts with the one assumption that seems to be like it would have to be a valid assumption, but that there is a me or a body.
Correct. And mantra erases this and lets you see the truth. And then you won't, again, you'll know any question I form has to be about body. It's gone. Any doubt I form, and truly the only thing of the questioning and the doubting is just to keep that alive, is to keep this I'm forming a question from the position that I'm a body. And then Master sees, well, okay, already you're forming a question, like you said, a baseless question, because there is no body. So you're forming a question about the illusion and expecting an answer based on the ideas and beliefs you're holding through the illusion that is not true. So no answer can be true because it's based on your belief that you are a singular individual in a body asking a question which you can acquire some knowledge as a singular individual in a body, quote, from Maharaj as you see a singular individual in a body. But neither of you are in body, and there's only one. So all of that, try to pose the question without using anything that this body has ever seen or ever gone through. And you cannot. And then you remain with your selfless self. And you can say, okay, how was the universe created? Well, again, remember, you did not come across the universe until you clicked with the body and thought yourself in body form. But you weren't that. This body is only for a time. It's the something that appears within the nothing. So we disregard that. Or how does Das Bode talk about the hierarchy of master and disciple? And oh, wait a minute. The book came along with the body. Das Bode came along with the body. The world that you read Das Bode in came along with the body. And you are not body, we're not body, and are not going to remain the body. So we disregard that. How can I live a happier life? Well, again, remember, you have to ask that question once you've clicked with the body and you've believed in the thought of I am somebody else who has a life. And this is not true, so you can discard this idea too.
I like that sound. So do we like things because they are there or because they disappear? Maybe we like them because they disappear.
I mean, again, in order for you'd have to form an I am somebody else that's liking something, and to say, okay, this is something that's appearing, but again, it's in the form world, and there should be no interest because you have to have a body to do that. So whether things are coming and going, just like in a dream, are you trying to arrange things in a dream to be that? No, you're not. And then the same here. The same consciousness that created the waking state created the dream state. The same consciousness that created the dream state created the waking state. And each one has a body. You have a dream body in the dream state. You have a waking state body in the waking state, and neither of them is true. And again, every question that can be formed has to take the body, has to take this body has been in contact with this book and has this question. Or this body has been in contact with this master and has this question. Or why does this master that this body has read about say things like this, and this other master says things like this? Well, both of those came about once you believed yourself to be a body in a world acquiring knowledge.
There's no longer a question of liking or disliking.
Well, I mean, the simple things, the liking and disliking, you know, but you have to take the body in order to do that. Remain with your selfless self, and things just come and go. Scenes just come and go. People just come and go. You're just here and just here.
So are you eating vegetables?
Pardon me?
Are you eating vegetables?
No, I prefer not. And that's just something. I see vegetables in front of me, I push them to the side. No, thank you. Thank you anyway. Also, though, the doctor said, hey, you should get some fruits and vegetables in your diet by eating multivitamin diet. These little, what do they call it? Gummy vitamins for, and now I take the 50 plus because I just turned 50. But these gummy vitamins, which I take, because again, that's taking care of the body, doing what I'm supposed to do. I do the little exercise, riding the bike to work. That's taking care of the body. Because this body is in this world, but see, there's no attachment. It's not like there's like, oh, this body has to go out and grab things and acquire things. And yet there can be goals. There can be like, okay, I hope to save money and go on a vacation. Okay, that, there's really no harm in doing that. It's that psychological, it's that I am somebody else doing all these things. As long as, just like in the dream, once you know it's a dream, you're going to still behave. You're going to move about and do your stuff and do your things. You're not just going to be, like a statue. So all these things are going to happen, but you're not taking the touch. It's not so like, oh my God, this is happening. It's just, okay, here we are going into work. Things are good. Things are not so good. Boss is happy. Boss is not happy. But we're just doing our thing. And if somebody says, hey, you need to adjust your attitude or adjust your behavior, or okay, that's fine too, because none of that is really affecting you. See, it's when the mind is sitting there saying, oh my God, this is so terrible, and I'm suffering, and I can't believe that I am somebody else erased through mantra. All these conceptual things that are building this world that you're believing yourself to be in are causing the pressure, but there's no pressure. Like Maharaj says, what do you want? Peaceful life, tension-free life, fearless life, happy life. And this is all you when you're not being disturbed by ideas and beliefs you're holding about yourself.
If I'm not the doer, like Maharaj always says that there's no doer, no deed, then basically I'm self and self. And so whatever is happening is not really happening. It's simply an illusion. It's the dream, I should say, the dream just simply happening. And therefore, there's nothing I can really do or not do. I mean, it's whatever is going to be taking place in the dream simply is going to be taking place in the dream. Is that correct? I mean, I don't have any choice. In other words, I don't think I have a choice of anything, because that would be somebody who can make a decision or whatever.
Well, you, the selfless self, are using the body instrument and choosing choicelessly in the moment. The idea is that there's no expectations. A mind doesn't sit there and create a potential future outcome for this thing that you just did. Because ultimately there's no deed, no doer, because all of this is illusion. But as you are moving about inside the dream, you're making decisions or whatever based on the moment, whatever is in that moment. This is how Maharaj says, what is impressed, good thoughts or bad thoughts, and how you accept this. That's in the moment. There's no expectation of a future or anything. It's just here. Like the fish swimming and seemingly, okay, swimming over this way, swimming over that way. There's no big decision-making process for a thinking mind, but there is spontaneous activity in the moment based on the response of what seems to be happening.
That has the response that occurs, for instance, doesn't that have to do with the gunas, basically, sattva, rajas, tamas, and so forth, or the psychological predisposition of who the body form is, basically.
Something is doing it, I guess, because you're not the doer.
Yeah.
What that something is, knowing yourself in a real sense. Again, that question was formed. Here's a body who has this knowledge of sattva, raja, and tamas. And like Maharaj, it would immediately be like, well, was sattva, rajas, and tamas, was this knowing prior to being this?
Prior to being this, yeah.
And we're stating the same thing of this body. You found out about Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas using this body form, which means you're using the illusory body in the illusory world with illusory knowledge, and then having a mind that tries to kind of interpret, what is this meaning?
So basically, it's like throwing overboard or dissolving completely all conceptualization.
Yeah, because it's all about the false world. It's all about the illusion.
Yeah.
Sattva, Raja, and Tamas, we can understand, okay, these are the gunas and this and that. But just like Das Bodh always starts out, there's nothing but Brahman, meaning there's nothing but the selfless self. Absolutely. That's the only thing. Now, inside of that selfless self, there was movement, which created wind, which then created fire, which then created water, but in the illusion. So everything is illusion. And when you say, okay, I read Das Bodh, again, you took a body form that's an illusory body in an illusory world to gain illusory knowledge, that then this sense of presence identifying with a body believes it's my knowledge, that body knowledge. And it also then believes it's something to be held on to and something to try and relate other things to that knowledge. And again, without body, none of that would be. And knowing yourself in a real sense, I was not body, I am not body, I'm absolutely not going to remain the body, then all of the knowledge that this body has acquired is nothing. Truly, like Maharaj says, it was the map to lead you to your selfless self so that you could remain with your selfless self deeper and deeper and deeper until the body knowledge dissolves. Everything you've ever read, you forget, because it's absolutely just not. And then you're not trying to relate other concepts based on the concepts or body knowledge that you're holding on to. You have, as Maharaj has talked about, broken out of the circle of body knowledge. Inside the circle of body knowledge, we can talk about gunas and raja and tamas. We can talk about the formation of the world. We can talk about all the different, spiritual terms and the Shakti and the prana and the Purusha and the Prikti and all this kind of stuff we can talk about inside the circle of body knowledge. Break out of the circle of body knowledge by knowing yourself in a real sense. Everything that this body has acquired in any way, shape, or form is absolutely worthless other than remaining with your selfless self, inviting the attention of the invisible listener with complete earnestness until that listener sees, oh, I know myself in a real sense. This body is not myself at all. All this thing that had been added onto this body or used to that this body has acquired that I used to believe was my knowledge is not.
The other day I had the feeling, whenever you come home with the family, that your buttons can get pushed pretty easily. So anyway, but ultimately, it's the feeling that the idea that there's nothing that the only thing you can do is actually do the mantra basically, because there's nothing else that you can do. I mean, it's a no-win situation. In other words, I think we're, like at least I am trying these different angles, or sometimes you think you're getting ahead or whatever. And again, I'm not sure if that's just simply body, sort of emotions or body feelings, like just the sense, this is happening, this is good, and so forth and so forth. But there's really it's a no-win situation. Basically, it's just absolute annihilation of the whole body idea. All attachment is related to the body idea, whatever type of attachment it may be. It could be money, could be sex, could be power, could be intellect, could be whatever. It's all somehow or another related to the body, that strong attachment to the body. And, that's just really kind of like what's really got to be kind of like dissolved completely. And I was just thinking about that. I mean, that's why I hear Maharaj saying over and over, you are not the body, you are not the body, you're not going to remain the body. He says it constantly. It's just...
and that's the spontaneous conviction, knowing yourself in a real sense instantly. You cannot be body. I am not body, I was not body, I'm not going to remain the body. That spontaneous conviction, I have touched, or whatever you want to call it, I've known myself now. And I am not body, I was not body, I'm not going to remain the body. And all needs and all requirements came along with the body, but that doesn't mean like I have a son. I love my son, I care for my son, we go out and we do stuff, but I absolutely know myself in a real sense. Both my son and my body, these two bodies are appearing on that spontaneous presence, and I am both my son and myself, and you and all these others. My presence is in every being. So this is known. Just like in the dream, you don't take the touch. You can still be around the people, and you'll be curious, you know, as you know yourself in the real sense, the entire world is projected on your spontaneous presence. So you are absolutely interacting with your own self in other forms based on ideas and beliefs you're holding about yourself. And when you're having no thought, and speaking is just occurring there, there's no interpreting mind, so there's absolute peace. There's nothing that can disturb, because there's no interpretation of what's happening. It's just a happening. And you remain with your selfless self, and speaking occurs, and listening occurs, and actions and movement occurs, but you absolutely remain with your selfless self. All of the troubles come from giving it to mind and interpreting what's actually happening, or trying to create a story about what's happening. Just like if you see somebody that you saw last week and you have it running in your mind, wow, I better go to the other side of the street because last week they were really kind of a jerk and they gave me a hard time and all this. But you're already creating a moment based on the thoughts and beliefs and expectations, using an I am somebody else that's countering another somebody, because I am, others are. But if you're just remaining with your selfless self, then there is no cognitive processing of this happened last time, this is what I can expect, or this is this, or this is that. There's a recognition in the projection that is my own selfless self. Even though that own selfless self might be labeled mom. You know, okay, this body over here is labeled mom. This body over here is labeled uncle. But again, remove the presence. Talk about gathering around your whole family, and just even as a mental exercise, remove the presence from all these bodies, including the body you're using, and you see, oh yeah, it's just the one presence. It's the one presence talking as mom, talking as uncle, talking as John, talking as Andrew, but it's the one presence. The only thing is the ideas and beliefs and concepts you hold about yourself create your reality that you're seeing, because it's running this thought process, this script over everything, and giving it the flavor of how John is seeing it, rather than it's just a seeing, just a happening.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We spend our whole time trying to figure out what's going to happen. Like if I did cross the street and face that guy, or just didn't think about it, you still don't know really what's going to happen.
Exactly.
And even if you think you know you're going to punch him in the face or something, he might go the other way and duck or whatever. You might never get to punch him in the face. You never know what's going to happen. Right?
Indeed. Or he might come over and say, you know what, I was a real jerk last time we saw each other. I'm sorry. And you're all ready to hit him in the face, and he's coming over and say,
I've actually had that happen to me, where somebody who had knocked me unconscious once years ago. You know, I wasn't the type of person to really hold it against him, but I was, you know, I always wondered, you know, does he still hate me or whatever? And eventually, years later, he came up and apologized to me for it. It was like,
well, and that's what Maharaj talks about. You have tremendous power, but you're spending so much of that power and so much of that energy running the script over the world that is absolutely illusory, rather than remaining with your selfless self and allowing everything to just come in, knowing that it's projected on your spontaneous presence, and it's absolutely illusion. There's no need to run a script. I think we talked about a while ago about the mind sits there, you try to believe in, because you're terrified. I don't know what's going to happen. So you give it to mind, and mind creates this Hollywood story of what's going to happen. So then there's a sense of peace and ease. Oh, okay, I know what's going to happen today. You absolutely don't, but the mind is, you're believing this story that's going to happen today. But see, then the very funny thing is when the reality is actually occurring, you're looking at it through the eyes of what you believe should be happening in order for you to have a happy day. And in reality, then you're punishing your peace by expecting something to happen the way you wanted it to happen, rather than allowing it to occur spontaneously and responding to it. As Andrew was saying, how do you make the decisions? Responding in the moment. And that's, again, the water scenario of I pick up the water, I drink, and I put it down. And everything is like that. That's the only doership in the moment. I pick up the water, I drink it, I put it down. That's it. There's no egoic sense of self that needs to be created, that needs to talk about the water or comment on the water, or say, Aquafina, next time we should get Deer Park or something like this. All this is not needed. There's no need to run a script. And partially that's because fear is felt. Fear that I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. Now think about that, because that's that kind of, the egoic sense of self will kind of fight this. That's the tenants that are leaving the building through mantra, is that, oh my God, you know what? I'm in this state where I'm not thinking and I don't know exactly what's going to happen next. And there's fear. And then the fear is, wow, maybe I should stop this mantra, because if I lose my mind completely, then what am I going to do? And all of the I am somebody else and all of the fantasy world created through mental constructs begins. That's why also this very beautiful, now as you're doing mantra, if you have a little depression or a little sadness, remember what Master says. This is a 5-element body, and different impressions can come, different disturbances can happen in the 5-elemental body. So there could be a feeling of depression, there could be a feeling of sadness, there could be a feeling of something, but there doesn't need to be a story created, because remember, it's a disturbance in the 5-elemental body. I remain with myself, the self. This disturbance is quickly passing, because I didn't ask myself, ooh, maybe I should stop doing mantra. Maybe I'm doing a little bit too much bhajan. I'm starting to feel a little bit depressed. I don't want to ruin the excellent spiritual feeling I just had, so I'm going to tweak it a little bit. No, because it's just a happening. The 5-elemental body is experiencing something, and it's not you. That's why when you know yourself in a real sense, you know that the formlessness cannot feel depression, how? There's nothing. It's just depression is passing, like Maharaj talks about. If you are the sky and there's black clouds coming, okay, black clouds are coming. The sky doesn't say, whoa, I better stop being the sky and go run away. No, they're just coming and going on your presence. And when you don't provide the I am somebody else experiencing something, and why is this happening, and all of that, and you remain with your selfless self, then these disturbances in the 5 elements that may be being felt through body, you know that you're the feeler and not the feeling. The feeling is appearing on your spontaneous presence, and you, the selfless self, are providing the feeler to feel these feelings. And then going back to your own self. Okay, this is a body thing. Not to do with me. I sit there and I say, oh, why am I depressed? I have to take a body form to say I'm depressed, and I am not body, I was not body, I'm not going to remain the body. So depression is there, but there's no one that is depressed. Sadness may be there, but there's no one that's sad. There is the interpretation not needed. That's simple.
I guess the really tricky part is, though, that what we could call disturbances, some things that we perceive and that happen seem disturbing, and others seem very pleasing. So it seems like there's really something going on there.
But you need a body for either of those things. Whether it's sad or happy, you need a body. And you'll feel it. There's a feeling, okay, but you're the feeler. But forget it. It has to do with the body. There's just no need for these concepts, this mental construct of why this is happening. I feel sad. I give this to mind, ego, intellect to go out, and it does a Google search of all the sad things that may have happened in the last 5 days, or things that may be coming up that might be sad. And then I attach to that, and I'm drug along in the future or drug along in the past in a totally, completely false world of my own making and suffering for nothing. It's not easy.
Yeah, I know that sort of like creating a script, or just kind of like projecting out into the future what you're going to be doing or whatever. I mean, that's a strong tendency. I mean, I was in a meeting the other day, and there was this person in the meeting, and I was figuring out I'm going to have to talk to this person at the end of the meeting. So how I'm going to do that? So, I spent a lot of time prior to the end of the meeting thinking about, well, how is that going to go? And it just so happens we never did meet at the end of the meeting, because the whole situation changed because that person had to go somewhere else and I had to go somewhere else. So, it was like, so that whole kind of like creation of this whole script was really kind of like besides the point. It just didn't really make any sense. And we do that continuously. I mean, it's just one of those things it's kind of like a habit, this continuous conceptualization that's, just going on day and night, 24/7 kind of. And, sometimes, it slacks off, when things are going really well and so forth. And then when, things are challenging, then you kind of get into it. Well, what am I going to do now? I got to figure this one out, and so forth and so forth. It's just, but again, it's just basically, as I said, it's a no-win kind of a situation. You just got to keep doing the mantra. Basically, that's the only thing that really makes sense to me more and more, because, I mean, everyone says the same. I know Ramana Maharshi said, sooner or later, you got to forget everything. Mm-hmm. I know Ranjit Maharaj used to always say, forget everything in your he, or in Ramakant's terms, selfless self. Mm-hmm. Forget everything in your selfless self. And so basically, that's the only kind of like escape.
Exactly. And anything that was required.
The circle of ignorance, right?
Yeah, the circle of body knowledge. Anything that was acquired with using this body. You are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. So all of that is from body. And your scenario, I like to think about like the slow-moving truck in traffic. And you sit there and your mind is like, oh my God, this slow-moving truck, and I'm going to be late for work and all this kind of stuff. And then it just turns off. Or you see something pulling out and you're like, oh, it never happens the way the mind is presenting it. So disregard the way the mind is. Even in those situations, say, wow, selfless self has designed this experience so that I can remain with mantra, so that I can invite the attention of the invisible listener. I am ultimate truth. Master says, live like Brahman. Master says, I am the ultimate reality. I don't have to worry. I don't have to plan in this way or think or strategize or any of these things, because all of this is appearing on my spontaneous presence. So it's illusion. And like you mentioned, the guy at the end of the meeting, you were sitting there thinking about all this stuff that was going to be said, and see, you, the selfless self, were allowing yourself to again see that you don't have to give this to mind. Give this to mantra. Remain with your selfless self. When there does need to be discussing or something like that, it's going to happen spontaneously. The old adage of, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said now? And does it need to be said by me? And that allows you to start slowing down a little bit. And now with mantra, it's the same, but you're going and remaining with your selfless self. If response is needed, it will respond spontaneously because the selfless self is using this instrument, and it will respond cleanly in the moment when there's no mental construct of I am somebody talking to somebody else. Instead, it's the speaker and the listener are one and the same.
Well, that's the selfless self is the whole new identity that we're striving to realize, or to settle in permanently, 24/7.
But that is you, and all the things that are added on are not.
Right.
And that's why, again, all the body, anything that came along with the body, anything that the body has learned, anything that the body requires, anything that the body needs to do, all these things, back to Nisargadatta Maharaj about being in the womb. When you were a fetus in the womb, the body was just growing and food was allowing it to grow and grow and grow and grow, but everything was being taken care of. There was nothing that needed to be thought about. Even you weren't conscious of yourself, because like Siddharameshwar Maharaj says, if you were conscious of yourself in the womb, that would have been a horrible experience. You would be traumatized before you were even born. So there was no I am somebody else in a womb that needs to do this and needs to do that. The total functioning was functioning without anyone there to sit there and comment on how it was functioning, how the ear is growing or the nose is growing, or I'm getting enough food, or is it too crowded in here, or any of these things. There was no I am somebody else, which was creating a personal world or a personal sense of individualized identity.
So it seems like the whole thing is a setup for us to discover who we really are. Everything that happens is a pointer. Like
go ahead.
A school kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, everything is designed so that you will know yourself in a real sense. I mean, that's the whole thing. You're doing this, I guess, because that's the point. Just like I think Siddharameshwar Maharaj says about you've been given the divine task of constantly brushing aside or discarding illusion. That's your divine task. You've been given, because you, the selfless self, know that all of this is happening is an illusion and never actually was. And then inside of this dream, just like the dreamer is dreaming, your thing is to recognize yourself as the dreamer and not the character, and yet still enjoy the character, move about, do the character, but all the time knowing I was not body, I am not body, I'm not going to remain the body. I was not this dream character. I never was this dream character. Like we said the other week, I'm not a mouse. I seemingly in the dream am in a mouse body, living a mouse life, but the truth is I am not a mouse. So anything that occurs inside this mouse dream is not actually happening to me. Therefore, I don't take the touch.
I hate to say this, but what you just said almost gave confirmation to something I seemed to experience about a week ago, and I was going to mention this to Andrew because he's talking about it being a no-win situation, but then of course when we face a no-win situation, we're actually that could be a sense of resignation, or what I do is I usually try to keep a positive attitude and keep a sense that the possibility open that I can have a win-win situation. But what you just said was something to do with you can be aware of all this stuff that's going on in the body world and still be free at the same time, which is sort of like a win-win situation. And that's what I felt like last week. That I felt so good. Everything, I felt like I was seeing clearly, and everything and I wasn't really wrapped up in this world. I just felt so free and so perfect or something. It was so, but then my mind started coming in and saying, well, I can have my cake and eat it too. But then that experience eventually disappeared. So actually, that the concept or the experience of having my cake and eat it too wasn't meant to last either. But so you sort of see what I'm saying. It's like we do have the capacity to enjoy being here. I guess you think we have the capacity to enjoy being here with and still be free of it. Like,
I mean, there's no body knowledge because you won't have anything that points to the fact that you're in a body. You'll just be, things will be occurring in front, and spontaneously these actions are occurring, and you're moving about, and yet you know, I am not body, I was not body, I'm not going to remain the body. And I know myself in a real sense. And like it was talked about, even if you just touch yourself in a real sense, just for a brief moment, you know, absolutely, the formlessness has nothing to do with form. And that's why whether I'm aware of awareness after leaving the body or not doesn't matter, because I know myself in a real sense. The formlessness is there, even if it doesn't know itself after the body form. It doesn't matter. You never were a body. You are not body. You were not body, because you are the formlessness. You're animating everything. You're providing all the energy and all the power of all these things, and everything that you're experiencing or that you're thinking about or taking possession of came along with the body, which you are not.
there is some indication that it's possible to be aware of awareness without the body, because Nisargadatta says he's aware of being in a state of deep sleep when he's in a state of deep sleep. So that would be basically being aware that you're, same as being aware that you're dead, kind of. So it is possible. I mean, you know, for awareness to go on as itself, not as yourself, but without a body.
Now, again, these are all kind of speculating things.
But according to what he said, that's what my assumption is.
But I think that's the way it's interpreted, is that awareness is aware. If you're aware of yourself in deep sleep, it's because you know I'm this formless sense of presence and all of this world is occurring on my spontaneous presence. I'm far removed. I'm neither awake nor asleep. I'm neither conscious nor unconscious, because all of this is appearing on my spontaneous presence and is illusion. So in a sense, I'm knowing that sleep and deep sleep and death and all of these things are just something appearing in the nothing that I am. Because remember, Nisargadatta Maharaj is not speaking from an individual point of view of when I go to sleep. I, Nisargadatta Maharaj, as the selfless self, am aware of these different states. No, I know myself in a real sense, and all these states are appearing on that presence. Therefore, I know that all of these states that are appearing on my spontaneous presence have nothing to do with me. I am the knower of those states because they appear on the spontaneous presence. But it doesn't necessarily mean I have active knowing of deep sleep.
Yeah, either way, it's if you're saying I don't have awareness of awareness after death, or if you say I do have awareness of awareness after death, both statements are removed from the present state of being what you are.
Yeah, both from the formlessness, when you know yourself in a real sense and you're speaking from that formless state, neither of those would make any sense.
Yeah.
Aware of awareness or not aware of awareness after leaving a body that you never were, that this entire world is appearing on your spontaneous presence. I guess Maharaj would talk about prior to beingness or after leaving the body, the nothing and the something that appeared for a time. But aware of awareness or not aware of awareness doesn't make any difference to the presence or the awareness because there's nothing to measure it against. There's no measuring stick. The body is the measuring stick with you measure yourself. Oh, I know myself in a real sense, this formless sense of presence. I'm the knower of that sense of presence, the I am. When Nisargadatta Maharaj says remain with the I am, it's remaining with that sense of presence and diving deeper and deeper and deeper into it until you are the knower of this sense of presence that is appearing on your spontaneous presence.
And you can't help but love it, really. When
That's the only thing that has any interest, if you would call it interest, because you're one with that. So all of these things are seen as appearing on that. And as Maharaj says, that's the ultimate truth. That's the last destination. There's nothing in back of it. It's not like you can sit there and say, okay, there's something more. No, you're the knower of this formless sense of presence, and all of this world is appearing on that spontaneous presence. You're out here, and all this is appearing, and it's just layers and layers and layers and layers. And like Maharaj says, you keep peeling the layers of an onion away, and you get to the middle, and there's nothing. And that's your own selfless self, final truth, ultimate truth, absolute truth, invisible, anonymous, unidentified identity.
That's kind of what I mean when I say a no-win situation, basically. It's like trying to win by hanging on to something, without maybe hanging on to one layer, or let's see if we can keep this layer or something like that. And it's impossible. It's just got to be completely dissolved.
Yeah, well, any layer you hold on to, the concepts are like rabbits. Rabbits get together and suddenly you have a million rabbits. The concepts are exactly like that. The concepts that you're holding on to birth other concepts. And then the understanding of I am somebody else who is holding on to something, and then all these other concepts that are building on that concept. Instead of, like we talked about before, instead of pruning the tree and cutting the leaves and trying to make a nice, shape, yank the tree out by the roots. The root is I am somebody else. I am separate. I am, but that sense of presence is not just I, it's I am something, someone. As I am something, I see other things, and I relate other things to this body. But the truth is, I am not body, I was not body, I'm not going to remain the body. So all the things that can relate to the body are in the illusory world, because the body is an illusory body, being used by the formlessness that you are. And you can use body, and take care of the body. It's your instrument, just like any other instrument. You would want to take care of it. You do the maintenance on it and all that kind of stuff, as we said, with the vitamins or eating right or exercise or any of these things. Yes, take care of the body. But know that absolutely you are not dependent on the body. Maharaj uses the example of the ants all the time. Ants, you pour water, and the selfless self knows itself in the form of an ant and absolutely believes that when this form of the ant finishes, I am finished. So the ants scurry away from the water. But that's the beingness. That's the I am somebody else in a body form, that once this body goes, what happens to me? And that is the one concept that just births all the other concepts. And then when fear is traveling through, like Maharaj says, the kind of river of thoughts, and I identify with the fear of death, wow, because I see other forms expiring and I believe I'm a form, I think that I'm going to expire as well. So then I go out and I try to find how this is, what's going to happen to me after my death. But the formlessness doesn't die. The formlessness for a time uses the body and enjoys the happenings on the screen, but is absolutely totally far removed from it, provides everything that's needed for the scenes to occur. The entire world is projected on your spontaneous presence. You're projecting the world and believing in the reality based on the ideas and beliefs you're holding about yourself at any given moment. But it's all illusion.
So there is no real before and after.
There is no before and after. There's nothing, because all of this is occurring on your spontaneous presence. You are formless. Before and after is, remember what we talked about, no question can be formed without taking a body or a position of a body. Death does not make sense unless you're taking the position of a body that can die.
I don't have any issues with dying. That, there's no fear there or anything. But where my fear comes up for me that makes me think I'm a body is deterioration. Like Alzheimer's, or physically not being able to walk, or all the stuff that's in the newspapers and all about aging.
Well, but again, when you know yourself in a real sense, you'll know that whether this body is aging or whether Alzheimer's happens to this body or not won't matter. You're the formlessness. When you know yourself in a real sense, all of this, formlessness can't have Alzheimer's. Formlessness can't go through body deterioration or broken bones or anything like that. Yes, it'll be felt, but not, it's like the neighbor's child. Oh, this body is going through some things and I'm not this body. I'm the sense of presence that's just using this body that seems to be deteriorating because it came from the 5 elements. I have to give it back to the 5 elements. I was leasing it for a time, just like we talked about the hot dogs expiring. The hot dogs have an expiration date. This body has an expiration date. It will dissolve back into the 5 elements from which it came.
I like the hot dogs.
Yeah.
That's good.
For some reason, though, some of these masters, when they are going through some heavy suffering with the deterioration of the body, somehow it doesn't seem to bother them.
Because they're absolutely knowing I'm not body, I was not body, I'm not going to remain the body. Pain can be there in the body, and you do what you can to take care of the body as long as you can, whatever, that's fine. But you just know that I really have nothing to do with this body. That even though that there may be like pain or whatever that's happening, it has nothing to do with, because it came along with the body. I think Nisargadatta Maharaj, as he was going through his cancer, he said cancer came along with this body. It's on this beingness. This cancer has appeared on this beingness, which I am not. And through mantra, when you know yourself in a real sense, and you're going through all these things of just remaining, and these are scenes coming and going and coming and going. And like Ramana Maharshi said, where would I go? They say I'm dying, but where would I go? Like, I know myself in a real sense. I'm everywhere. My presence is in every being. So whether this body is there or not, I am.
there's something, like in terms of in myself. I don't know what it is, but sometimes when I notice tendencies within myself that I don't like, I feel like I'm not supposed to have them, or I feel like there's maybe a lack of perfection or something. And it's probably behind all of it is a sense of ego, actually. But, like all kinds of tendencies can appear in the body, the 5 elements, as you were saying before. You can have any kind of a tendency, you can feel anything at any given moment, any kind of a thought, any kind of a feeling, any kind of attraction, any kind of thing. And somehow, I guess in my spiritual conceptualization, which is probably, that's the whole thing in itself, in a nutshell, a spiritual conceptualization. But that is supposed to be, there's supposed to be nothing there, absolutely no kind of tendency whatsoever anymore. Basically, there's just nothing, no tendencies towards anything. What do you have? I mean, is that your experience, or is that are there tendencies still, even in like realized masters such as Ramakant Maharaj, or is one completely tendency free? I guess that's the question I have, and I somehow think that maybe I think I'm not supposed to have tendencies, and maybe I'm not. I'm not sure. It's kind of a question I have.
Attaching to the tendency, I would say that's the, like, oh no, I'm not supposed to be doing this, or I'm not supposed to, I should be further along than this, or I shouldn't be thinking these thoughts, or any of this kind of stuff. It's attachment to, I am somebody thinking these thoughts, rather than these thoughts are flowing through nature, and
Yeah.
I'm absolutely not interested in them. And even I may see my body do something and be like, whoa, that wasn't so good, or whatever, but brush it off very quickly. It's like, but I am not body, I was not body, I'm not going to remain the body. The 5 elemental body has gone through something, and could possibly be just a script that needed to be run for the reason that this body was even attached to in the beginning. This body, I think Nisargadatta Maharaj says, has a destiny of some sort. It's going to go through certain things, but I'm just not concerned with that. As it's doing whatever it's doing, I remain unconcerned. And again, that's attachment to outcomes through expectation, and also attachment to the body that has an expectation of an outcome of something, where I think to myself, you know what? This guy's such a liar. He's so full of crap. I don't want to listen to him anymore. And I say to myself, wow, that wasn't a very spiritual thought. But that's a thought flowing through nature only because I'm taking an I am somebody else that believes that I'm thinking these thoughts. But the thoughts are just coming and going. I don't have to put them into action. Even I could have a thought, you know what? I want to quit this job. I never want to go back to my job again. But I don't put it into action. I don't sit there and say, I am somebody else, activating this thought and then creating like we talked about, the egoic sense of self performing an action. So I'm not attached to any of the things that this body may be going through.
That would explain some of the masters why they some of their body tendencies still manifest, such as if a wife of a master dies, he might cry, or this it might explain Nisargadatta's smoking. But also, what doesn't quite explain is, and I don't know where the line would be drawn, is some masters. It probably doesn't happen with a true master or something, but some masters are able to take advantage of others, like financially or sexually.
Yeah, see, when you know yourself in a real sense, you won't want to harm anyone, because everyone is yourself. So this happening of some master taking advantage of someone financially or sexually or something like that, that's definitely an egoistic sense of self, and as Maharaj would say, falling back into the ditch. And the problem with taking the position of a master is that you're taking a position, you're taking an egoistic position of I am someone else talking to someone. And that, if it's not very aware, can take possession of this body. That egoistic sense of, wow, look at me. Like Maharaj says, publicity, money, sex, all these attractions are out there. And if for one moment you believe that I am somebody else and there's something that I can get, you forget yourself. And as some of the spiritual teachers, masters, or whatever may continue on the route of, hey, I'm making a lot of money being Shri so-and-so, and I certainly don't want to let people know that I'm no longer in touch with myself. I was at one time, but now there's something I'm starting to speak based on an I need something from these folks. And that's why Siddhara Meshra Maharaj, Nisargadatta Maharaj, Ramakant Maharaj says they have to take the ego as a master. Because otherwise it's just speaking and listening and speaking and listening. But they have to take an egoistic position of a master because you're believing in that specific form that you're somehow separate. So there has to be a speaking to you, the selfless self, through the ideas and beliefs and the conditioning and the concepts. But to go out and harm another, number one, in order for a harm to be done, there has to be an egoistic position, a body self that believes because I'm a thing, there are other things that I can acquire for this thing. But when you know yourself in a real sense and you remain with your selfless self, these things may come and go. You know, it's just a happening, but you're not getting, at least it hasn't occurred where something would say, I want money, or I want that. They're seemingly seen, when you know yourself in a real sense and the entire world is an illusory world, it's illusory money. It's like you telling me that you're willing to pay me monopoly money. Of course, inside the illusion, it's a true thing, but giving up your own selfless self to go and acquire monopoly money, because once the monopoly of money is seen as something that's desired, and I am somebody else is desiring the monopoly money, and I forget myself, and once again, I'm in this for this money. I like this money, and this money, why do I like money? Because things can be acquired with this money for this thing. And all of these things are appearing on spontaneous presence.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be possible for a say a great guru to get people to have orgies, and would that be possibly a tactic for them to recognize that, okay, the orgy, you go through the orgy's over, it was no big deal, and it might help you recognize that it wasn't really about the sex in the first place, it was more about the love and the love or whatever.
Again, all of that, all of what you just said, you have to be a body. All of that is relating to a body, and then the belief that there are other separate bodies that are doing things separately, and that there's something to gain in all of this illusory world. But it started with,
but the body is going to do something, though.
I'm believing that I'm this body, though. That's the I am somebody else. The I am something separate. I'm believing that I'm this body. And again, like we said, every question yourself. Question the questioner of, does this question relate only after clicking with the body? Do I need a body to be able to form and ask this question? Is this a body knowledge experience, either that I've personally experienced, or that I've heard from some second or third hand thing, or seen on a video, or some such a thing like this? But I needed a body to do that. Therefore, it's within the circle of the body knowledge, absolutely illusion. And what's to gain by asking this question is only that the egoistic sense of self can maintain itself by forming concepts, ideas, and beliefs, by taking a position for or against anything.
good question. I guess.
I know Ranjit used to always say, you step completely out of the circle of ignorance and then come back into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The circle of body knowledge is within you.
It's getting to be 9 o'clock. Maybe
Sounds
we've
good.
had a good talk here.
Good, good.
We'll meet again.
Indeed.
John.
Thank you. All right,
Okay.
everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
John. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.